What's up guys, Doug McLeod here, welcome back for another guitar singer video, and today we're going to be going over 5 ways that you can make your simple chord progressions sound more professional. What do I mean by more professional? I mean a little bit of flair, a little bit of colour, a little bit of interest, add a little bit of juice to your guitar chords. Most of these will work on acoustic and electric, and I'm going to start with a little example chord progression, and I'm going to play it super vanilla to start with, and then by the end I'll start applying these 5 tips that I'm going to give you in the lesson, and you'll see how it kind of comes to life. So here we go for the progression first of all. It's some chords from a song called Mrs. Robinson. And we're going to bring it to life, make it sound more pro. So here we go. First little technique I'm going to show you is something called palm muting. So just on the E chord, this would sound like this. So without the palm muting. Now some of you who are already familiar with palm muting will be like, oh Doug, I thought that was a electric guitar technique, like a metalhead. But no, it can be used for steel string acoustic and it sounds very nice. And the way that you can you create this effect is you let the fleshy part of your hand kind of creep over onto the strings, and you can dial this effect up or down, as in you can add more of it or use less of it by just where on the string. Basically, the closer you come to the sound hole, the more of the effect that you're going to hear. Here it's pretty much dead notes. Whereas if I slowly move back, the note kind of opens up. So just as where the tuning pegs are here, it's hardly any effect and it just dials it in. So one thing I'm going to say, that's tip number 1. With all of these tips, you just want to pepper it in. You don't want to jump in and do this with the entire chord progression, or else it probably will just end up sounding a little bit weird. And it'll kill the effect. So anyway, that's palm muting is tip number 1. Tip number 2 I'm going to mention is simple dynamics. So between sections of the track, I'll play again with some dynamics, and you'll hear just literally dynamics is just playing certain parts quieter than others, and it will essentially, it makes the loud parts seem a bit more dramatic if you play the quiet parts quietly. So I'm going to start quiet, I'm going to get louder, and you'll feel the energy lift. So let's go for this chord progression again. Okay. So I'm just playing with the different dynamics, and you can see how that brings it to life completely. The strumming pattern that I've been using is down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. Very easy to follow with this. So point number 3 is that you can switch up the strumming pattern. So I'm going to use a accent on the upstroke when I come to the A chord, which is the second chord, in this example, and you'll hear how it really brings it to life. So instead of playing try something different. I'm going to go. It's very subtle. You can do it a few times on different chords. Okay, so it's just breaking away from that one single strumming pattern just for maybe a bar or 2, or just peppering it in here and there, adds a little bit of flavor, a little bit of pro flair. Okay, so point number 4 is another way of switching up not just the strumming pattern per se, but to throw in a bass note at the start of one of your new chords. So what do I mean by this? Throwing in that bass note. So take for example the E again. I'm going to play the E string very heavily on its own on the downbeat, and then continue with the strumming pattern. So I'll just show you what I mean. So it's kind of like another strumming pattern, but you're also omitting some strings, so it's almost like a technique in and of itself. just picking out the bass note and then strumming the rest of the chords. So I'll be peppering in that effect as well. And the fifth and final tip is to use hammer-ons. Now hammer-ons is where you pluck the string and then you fret the note after you have plucked the string. So instead of plucking before and after, you pluck only before and then produce the note by fretting with some force. And the way this would work with a chord is you leave out a note from the chord. So I've got my E major, but I'm going to leave that note out. So we've got this. And then, as I strum it, hammer on to that note from the chord. Okay? So again, I can pepper these in. And it's going to take a little bit of trial and error for you to figure out for any particular chord, in a particular progression, which notes to leave out and hammer on, and which combinations is going to work in that setting. It's really a case of, for any given song, for any given chord in that progression, in that song, you just try out lots of different variations, and over time you come up with really cool sounding licks. So to summarize, 5 tips to make your chord progression sound more pro. 1, palm muting. 2, dynamics. 3, switch up the strumming pattern. 4, hit a bass note at the start of a strum. And 5, use those hammer-ons. Okay, so I've put it all together and it can sound a little bit like this. Thank you so much guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll be bringing you more very soon. So see you in the next one.